So a little while ago, I made a video touring this Cranberry Bog settlement. I also got into a lot of details about this location and why I chose it and the benefits around it. If you haven't seen that, I highly recommend to check it out. Spent quite a while putting that together. And then a little after I uploaded a tour over this place, I uploaded a video touring the shelter over the Cranberry Bog settlement and got into major details over that. Well, let's just say since those videos, I've done a few improvements to both of the places. And in this video, I was going to be showing you the few little improvements that I've done and this new shelter that I have created, which you can see the entrance here right now. And for this new shelter, I tried to make it seem like it's a cave by using those rocks that recently came out in the Atomic Shop, which they come with the Lumberjack bundle, which costs us 1,500 atoms altogether. However, you can choose to purchase them for 250 if you just want the rock set out of the bundle. That's totally up to you though, if you even have or want to spend the atoms or not. Alright, so yeah, first things first, in this video I'm going to be showing off this new shelter that I tried to turn into a cave. If you find this enjoyable, by the way, consider taking a little bit of your time and leaving a like. That'd be greatly appreciated. Helps get the video more passed around on YouTube for others to see this. I'm excited to see what y'all think about it. But yeah, let's go ahead and step on inside this cave now. I tried to make the entrance similar to the cave atmosphere that we're about to be entering. I just can't change up the door, unfortunately. As you can see, here is the cave that I tried to create inside the Vault Quarters shelter. Overall, I like how this came out. I will say though, it wasn't an easy process putting this together, at least for me. It was pretty annoying and time consuming because, for one, we can't blueprint inside our shelters, so I had to individually place these rocks one by one. Yeah. There's a lot of rocks here, so that took a long time. And for two, just placing the rocks how I wanted was a process because it kept saying intersecting with existing object when I attempted to place the rocks how I wanted. And lastly, for three, was just simply the budget. I didn't realize how small and how many rocks I was going to actually need for this. At first, this cave was going to be way bigger, but then I realized I wouldn't be able to connect it with the fish inside this atrium shelter. So I had to delete a lot of it and reorganize the rock placement. But I feel like the end results were worth it. I hope this cave helps inspire y'all in some kind of way. The main idea out of this was to make it seem like the scavengers who, made the Cranberry Bog settlement, for pretend of course, was creating their own shelter and stumbled upon this vault underground that has these fish. Or it could be that they are trying to infiltrate inside this vault, kind of like how we got inside Vault 79 by siding with the settlers. We tunneled our way through. I don't know, the story behind this place could go multiple ways. The main idea, though, over this cave system inside this atrium shelter was just to make it seem like the scavengers didn't technically own the vault. Instead, I made it seem like they discovered this somehow. Because, in case you don't know, the theme I have going on for the Cranberry Bog settlement is that scavengers have built this from the ground up, and they work with what they find around the wasteland. So, they don't have much to use. I don't want them seeming like they own something like this, Instead, I tried to make it feel as if they found this underground somehow. Hopefully that makes sense. And I have to say, the sound effects for this Vault Quarters shelter, when you're near the fishes, blends great with this cave. It's nice ambience for it. I mean, listen to this for yourself. So yeah, there's a little tour over this cave. Now let's go ahead and get into more about how this was even made. I'm gonna go ahead and go on the outside of this now. Be prepared to shield your eyes. It's quite ugly out there, I will say. Oh my gosh. Like I said, I used a lot of rocks. So yeah, as you can see, here is what it looks like on the outside. I have a bit of explaining to do here for y'all, for those of you that may want to do something like this for yourself. And I will mention during this video, I'm actually going to be storing all of these rocks just to find out exactly how many I did use, because there are a lot here and I do have plans to change this up. I will show you an updated version sometime in the future. But for now, I just wanted to show you all this concept and what you can do with these rocks. So first off here, some of you might have noticed how bright it was in the cave. And I have to say, I'm not a huge fan over the brightness. I would love to have had the cave like this side. You notice how it's darker over here? Well, the reason why that is because there are giant spotlights above us. And unfortunately, they shine through any surfaces. It doesn't matter if you have something literally right in front of it. it's still going to shine bright like a diamond down in the area. Let me go ahead and show you all that for proof real quick, because I did try to attempt to make the cave a bit more dark in it, just so you wouldn't see as many flaws within it. That's another thing I'm going to get into detail about here shortly. I know I mentioned quite a few in the beginning, but there are more. I'm going to be real with y'all. It's not all rainbows and sunshines building this. But yeah, as you can see, I have things blocking the light now, and you will notice it still shines right through. I'm going to go ahead and go back in to give you all proof of that. This is actually the center of the quarters area. This section right here is what it used to look like, and yeah, now it looks like this. Unfortunately, it's still super bright in here, although I can't really complain too much. I still like the way it came out. Also, another thing to point out inside this cave is that I wanted to make it seem like we were deep. I didn't want to make it just a tunnel system. So if you notice, when we look up right here, there are a bunch of different layers I added at the top, and that was a pain to put together. There's still plenty of gaps that you can see if you look closely. Like right there's one gap, there's another. How I actually filled in those gaps is I just simply went over to the rocks and I would just place them up there, and voila, that fixed the gap. And yeah, they look awkward outside, but hey, at least it gives off an illusion, at least from this point of view, that there's not a gap there. However, if we look at it at a different angle, we can probably notice there's a gap. Well, actually no. It conceals it pretty well doing it like that. But outside of the area, of course, it's going to be looking awkward. But yeah, that's the reason why I have it up higher right here. Because once again, I wanted to give off an illusion that we were deep underground. I couldn't do that everywhere. Like I said before, this cave was way bigger. However, I had to compromise because of budget, which I can't complain. There are still tons of rocks that I used here, and I'm about to be showing you all that for proof. A ridiculous amount of rocks. We'll be seeing exactly how much here in a little. Also, something else that I wanted to point out in this makeshift cave is how I got each side set up. Now, you can pick and choose which one you like better. This side, I will mention, is cheaper on budget. This side is more expensive with budget. Let me get into a little bit more detail here. As you can see, I have only one rock wall going on here, and then in the back of this rock wall I have this regular wall back here, utilizing this brick wallpaper. This wallpaper is exactly called limestone wallpaper. I thought this blended best with the rocks. You know, if I use something like this, that stands out a lot, and you can notice a lot of the flaws with this cave, which that's just mainly due to me and my poor placement, unfortunately. And also, not to mention, it's just hard to get things to work out how you want exactly, just because of things like this popping up. You know, many of you are probably familiar with this, intersecting with an existing object. You're not going to be able to place things how you exactly want to place them a lot of the times. You know, that's just how it is. It is what it is. But yeah, I will mention also darker wallpaper helps conceal more of the gaps. You don't really notice them as much. They don't pop out as much as they used to with something else. For example, here's what it looks like with no wall behind these rocks. Yeah, it looks really odd like this. Anyways, now for this next side, you will notice that I actually doubled up on the rock walls. You can see, you know, rocks behind these rocks. So what I did was place, you know, the ones in the back first, and then I placed these rocks that are in the front where the big gaps were. Unfortunately, you still see through the gaps, and you can see the vault on the other side, which really loses the whole cave atmosphere experience we're trying to go for here. So personally, you know, going with the wall trick for the illusion is way better than this side. I just wanted to give you all two examples, and another reason why is because, well, it first started off with these rocks, and you will notice that these rocks are connected to the roof too. I didn't really feel like deleting all of that and placing every single rock again individually, because that took a lot of time, and I wanted to get this out to y'all while these rocks were still in the atomic shop for a little while. So yeah, I just ended up going with the double rock wall look, because I already deleted it before and did it all over again, and then this happened where I finished it and noticed I could still see the vault outside. So this was a whole learning experience too. I didn't feel like deleting everything again and doing it all over. However, I was able to scoot some rocks over on the right side to place the wall. So it worked out on that side at least. The other side, however, would have ruined the whole entrance, so I didn't really get to scoot them over as much. But yeah, personally, dark wallpaper or the brick wallpaper really helps blend the rocks. Anyway, something else that I wanted to point out really quick within here is the flooring that I got over here. You will notice that I also have the rocks down below too, and that was originally going to be everywhere down the shelter. I was going to make it so we're walking on top of rocks everywhere down here, but that ended up becoming a budget problem, so I didn't go it that way. Instead, I just added the dirt tiles at the bottom. I feel like it blended well with inside here. And something pretty neat to know if you do try to attempt making cave flooring for yourself or something, I figured out that if you place the rock first and then place your flooring down, it will actually blend with the flooring. If you have it as dirt, it blends really well together and also conceals the gaps and what's underneath the rocks too, because you can't perfectly place these. There's always going to be gaps one way or another. But this is one way you could make some decent flooring to blend with the cave. Alright, so now since I'm going to be making another cave in the future, let's go ahead and get into the fun part. Let's go ahead and store all of these rocks now and see how many rocks I exactly used down here inside the quarters shelter. It's going to take a while. I'll get back with y'all once I get them all stored. Just going to fast forward this. Alright, so I about have everything stored here. As you can see, I got all the rocks now stored, which equaled up to 564 rocks I used for this freaking cave. What the heck? And by the way, big thanks to this Xbox gamer tag here for hooking me up with concrete for this. I even tried to trade with him and he still refused. He just wanted to help out with this build. So yeah, that was awfully cool of him. And yeah, you can see what else was used. A couple foundations, couple chairs, couple stash boxes. Those were for pretend, the explosives or whatever they were using to make the cave. And yeah, a few walls here and there too. So yeah, there you guys have it, the cave shelter in a nutshell. Now let's go ahead and get into the other parts to this Cranberry Bog settlement. So next up here, I'm going to be showing you all the improvements that I did for this place, starting off with inside the first shelter that I made for this settlement. Some of you might have already seen the more detailed video that I made over this shelter. If you haven't, feel free to go check it out sometime if you want. Actually, that's how a lot of these improvements were even inspired within here. I went with some of your guys' suggestions inside the shelter I have for the settlement. First off, starting off here, some of you may be curious about the green walls I have going on. If you want to make those for yourself, just simply flip the central sign around and you can use them to create your own little wall. As you can see, I got it going on both sides. In my opinion, it makes it feel more as if they dug this place out and made this shelter. Because everything that they dig out isn't going to be perfectly straight and symmetrical. So yeah, I kind of like the look of this setup. Anyways, in this next room here, I actually changed up a lot. It used to be really opened in here, but instead I added the cave entrance that you see over here, which, this just gives off the atmosphere over what you're about to be going into. Also, I made rooms inside here. There used to be a foosball table here and whatnot. I really like the way this looks more. Also still have the lounge and whatnot here. And I added these lockers with this safety first sign as well, right outside of the cave too. But yeah, I thought this flowed a little better instead of it being super opened here. I also like it so their sleeping area is before going into this room here. Which this room here is supposed to be a room where they're studying flora at. However, there is radiation in here because of this barrel here. They're using like radioactive materials and whatnot to experiment with the flora. So there is a little bit of radiation inside of here. just because of this container. I mean, it's not super radiated. As you can see, it's kept contained inside. But the idea was the scavengers that we're studying here had more protective gear while being in this room, just because they'll be handling things that have radiation within the barrel. So they want to be dressed with more caution. However, if they don't open up that barrel, they're pretty safe from the radiations. Anyways, in this next room here, I have a area where they could do a little bit more research on the flora too. I used to have the sleeping area back in this part of the shelter, but I instead moved that up front. So yeah, that's what's going on inside the shelter and a bit of the changes that I made. Also added this little research table too with some random flora here and there inside the area where they're studying the Cranberry Bog flora. That's how I also tried to make this shelter intertwined with up above with the Cranberry Bog settlement. I wanted to make it seem like they're actually studying the flora around in the area. I also wanted to make it seem like scavengers were, making this too. I didn't want to make it seem super high tech. So that's the reason why I got the vault hidden and added all of this around, including the roofing too. The only bit of the actual vault that you can see is right here in the beginning. And that's it, just these walls. Also, I noticed that there are pipes on the wall here, so I decided to put the porta potty up against this wall, and they actually flow within it. They look as if they belong there. But yeah, that's basically all the improvements that I got going on inside this shelter. Now let's just go ahead and head on out to the actual settlement up above and show you the bit of improvements that I did out there too. Alrighty, so I'm up above again in my settlement. I guess the first improvements that I'll go over are these junk walls that I added around. In case you don't know, these come around in the atomic shop every now and then, and they go great with scavenger themed builds or raider themed builds or just in general scrappy themed builds. And that's what this whole theme is about. The people that are living here are using what they can to survive. They're just using what they find around the wasteland. But yeah, you'll notice I have this set up around a lot of the settlement now. Also have a whole another new section back here, as you can see, where the defense tower is for the place. Added this little porta potty back here too. But yeah, the junk walls definitely helped give this place more privacy, and they flow really good with this little defense tower. I love the way they look.
Everything gets damp in this weather.
But yeah, that's one thing that I added new, which by the way, there is also a scavenger woodcutting NPC that spawns at this location down the Cranberry Bog, which in case you're interested about this place, it's located right down here from Vault 76, right by Sunrise Field, as you can see. So yeah, not only is this a scavenger themed build, I also have a scavenger NPC literally here chopping wood, and he is pretty beneficial to have around. I get into a lot of details about this guy in the Cranberry Bog settlement tour video. I'm not going to get too much into detail about him in this video, since I've already talked about him quite a bit in another one. Anyways, another little improvement that I made to this place was adding the rainwater collector right here, and lastly, I added a car over here. Not too many changes happened to the settlement, which all of these came from the Junkyard Camp Bundle, in the Atomic Shop. So yeah, there you guys have it, everyone. Hopefully you found this video overall enjoyable over my Cranberry Bog settlement and the new cave shelter I added onto it. I'm out of here though, everyone. Thanks for taking the time, watching and listening. Until next time, peace